All right. That right there, folks, we're serious right now. I'm Chad LaChance, Dan Swanson. We're out on Boyd Lake. It's October. We're fishing for white bass. We got a giant. This is going to be a good show. Dano, what do you think? Can we do better than that one?
I think we'll do a lot better than that.
Yeah, sun's just coming up. We'll let this little white bass go. We're going to get after him. Blade baits, jigs. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Let's go fishing.
Yeah,
all right.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Berkeley, catch more fish. Abu Garcia, for life. Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Evinrude, spend more time on the water. Lawrence, find, navigate, dominate.
That may be a little bit better. All right, guys, we just let that little one go.
Net on that?
And we got another one here. Now that's his first cast after we just let that other one go. It's kind of a joke there. We were messing with that little guy, and here's a little bit better one now, guys. Now we're just saying thanks, Dano, for that. Oop, came off here.
Yeah, good thing we netted her.
Good thing we netted him. All right, guys, so all jokes aside there, you saw in the open, there's another littler one. Now we're hoping to get bigger than this.
Yeah.
But that's a good sign. We're heading in the right direction right there. It's October. It's cold. It's middle of October, unless that's too small to eat. So we'll put that in back. What do you think?
That sounds good to me.
All right, we'll get him back. It's October, it's cold. We had a flood in Colorado about a month ago. This lake came up, what, like 8, 10, 12 feet?
It's 15 feet easily.
A lot, let's just say. The water's real murky. It's 53 degrees. We're gonna see what happens here, but we've only been fishing a couple of minutes first thing in the morning. We're looking for white bass. We maybe catch some trout. We might stumble into some walleyes, but that's what we're after, mixed bag. We're gonna do some grocery shopping too.
Sounds good to me.
Let's eat. So, all right, got the brand new bait out actually. It's a blade bait. Berkeley Thin Fisher right there. I just took it out of the package and tied it on. I've made 3 casts and caught 2 fish. That's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
All right, so the deal with the blade's this. I've got it on a short, stiff St. Croix. Effectively, it's a medium heavy. It's not because of the size of these fish, it's because of the size of the blade. It's a 1/2 ounce Johnson Thin Fisher blade bait. And this one happens to be chrome and blue. And working it on 20-pound tracer braid with a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. It's relatively heavy tackle. The whole point is because of the heavy blade. So I'm just gonna give it short little hops, just snap it up just a little bit off the bottom. The fish that we've marked on the Lawrence have been right on the bottom. So we're gonna keep the blade close to the bottom and we'll work it back to the boat and see if we can get a bit. Go, Dana!
Not a big one.
You don't think?
Oh yeah, he's all right. He's all right.
Let me get the net here. I'll get the net if I can get my bait here. We'll net him for you there, Dano.
All right.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's a weighty. We got a weighty. We got a weighty.
All right.
Come here, buddy.
Now you got yours on the blade as well.
I did.
There you go.
Same color as yours too, just a little smaller.
There you go. Nice. You got them on a thin fisher too?
I did.
Excellent. Now guys, one thing about these white bass is they're extremely prolific fish. These are like the bunny rabbits of the fish world. And that's good eats. We ought to box that one. That's probably just about the right size to eat. And we'll go ahead and cook some of those
Sounds
up.
good to me.
But you know, fishing a blade bait, fall of the year, great way to catch lots of fish. We marked some fish on the bottom, real tight to the bottom. That told us blades, working them tight to the bottom. And Dano knows how to do it. Dano just won a good tournament fishing some blades and spoons, so you ought to do good. Put that one in the box and let's eat him.
Let's do that. We'll throw her back right back
done,
here.
Dano. On the new thin fisher.
Yeah.
Good work. All right, guys, you see in front of us, we got all the seagulls working right here. We're playing a little bit of a chase. I haven't been in this lake in a while. So one of the ways we're gonna use to locate the white bass this morning is these birds. And if you watch these seagulls right here, I don't care about all these roosted up grebes. It's the seagulls that are working in the air that we're looking at. So we're gonna pull in here and see if we can catch some of them. But you know, we say watch for birds a lot, but you gotta pick which birds. You want the seagulls that are actually working and bombing, and these guys right here off the end of this dock are doing that.
There's a lot of stuff on the sonar.
Oh, look at the
A
graph
lot of
too.
stuff down at the bottom. There's a bunch of stuff up on top.
Got him on the flat line.
All right.
All right, guys, we ain't gonna lie to you. We spent 2 hours with blade baits, and we caught a grand total of 2 respectable white bass and a couple of dinky white bass and dinky walleyes. So we decided that since Dano's boat's set up for trolling, that we'd try to do a little trolling. So we've done that, and we have now caught another white bass, and we just marked those on the graph. Let me get him off on the flicker shad. We just marked him on the graph. Sorry, Dano. And the funny thing about it is, Dan's down there playing with the graph, marking a waypoint, so we come back in and jig on him. And while he's doing that, I caught this one behind the boat. So the lesson to be had here is that, and there's another one. I think he might be a little small to eat. We'll see. What do you think?
That's up to you, man. You
Yeah,
guys are eating them.
We'll let him go. Yeah, we'll let
right.
that one go.
We'll get some more.
But we'll catch some more of them. But the lesson is this: we marked them on the graph. Well, Dan's messing with that. I jerking on the flatline flicker shad that's out here and caught another one of them. So we're messing around. We're 2.5 hours into our day, and that's only our 3rd respectable fish.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna have to keep playing with it. But we've got a big cold front coming. You can tell it's really cold. I don't know how he's not cold. But the bottom line is, in the fall of the year, it can be feast or famine. We marked a big school of them and got one to bite, so we'll circle around and see if we can get them again.
Yeah,
Thanks
we
for the
got
note.
them. Yeah, we got a good waypoint on them, so we can come back and sit on them with jigging spoons or
Yeah.
whatever.
Be
So,
more precise, more
Yeah,
vertical. Yeah.
absolutely.
Sweet. Good work, Dano. So guys, we trolled to find the fish. We used the trolling to find the fish. While we were trolling around, there's a nice one here. Look at that white bass. Look at that white. Whoop, whoop, wrong side of the net, Dano. All right. Now that one will eat for sure, guys.
Nice fish.
All right. There's a good white bass for
there
here
you
at
go.
Boyd Lake. That's a nice, look at this. So he's kind of melting. That's kind of weird.
Strange for this time of year.
But at any rate, here's the lesson, guys. We fished for 2 hours. We caught 2 respectable white bass. We decide that when we'll go troll and locate them, because the whole thing with white bass is locating them.
Yep.
The lake's come up like 10, 12, 15 feet since we were last here. So we put the trolling rods out, we trolled around, we marked these fish, caught one of them while we're trolling, turned right back around, went to that waypoint.
Yep.
That's the first cast. So that's putting your electronics together, all
Absolutely.
your techniques together, and got that little fin fisher working there. Little
That's
Johnson
great.
bait's working pretty good.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, let's box this one. Excellent. Hey, where's the live well on this thing, Dano?
Right there.
We'll put him in there with that other one. So that'll make 2. And later on in the show, we'll show you guys what we do with those. And I'm gonna turn them into a fish stew, a real traditional fish stew that I think you guys will like.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. Lawrence, find, navigate, dominate.
You got there, Dano.
You got your
Let me
fish.
get you the net here.
You do
I'm
that.
gonna get the net. And this, friends,
You
is
do that.
why you put together a system. There you
there we go,
go.
another
Another
net.
nice one right
See if we
here.
can get them in the net before you.
Yeah.
You know, you're as good at it as I
Oh
am.
man, now learn a lot from watching this show. Learn about electronics, learn about jigging spoons. Do not learn about netting.
How to net.
I could mess up a net no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, that's okay. I did it in my last fish. So.
That's a nice one. There you go, Daniel. Should we box that one? What do you think? Should we eat
Up to
him?
you.
We'll catch one more bigger than
All
that.
right,
Let
let's
that
get
little
rid of
guy go.
Let that little guy go. But it was interesting because I saw that fish, you know, on the electronics as we went right over the top
Not
of
only
it.
did you see him, you pointed him out to me.
I
That
pointed
was
him
really
out,
nice
and it
of
was
you.
like whack. And there it was. So
All right, good job, Dano.
when you're fishing vertical, the electronics are so important.
Okay, you're on the motor and electronics. And also, as always, is important is retying. And this knot needs to be retied. Cold hands or otherwise, I'm gonna retie it. So the deal is the difference between a blade and a spoon. A common question for us is when do you fish blades, when do you fish spoons? I consider both of them basically vertical presentations, up and down presentations. The blade bait, like I'm throwing, is a little bit more horizontal in that I tend to hop it more like you might jig it all the way back to the boat. So it's the lift that gets their attention, it's the drop that gets them to bite. The spoon, in my opinion, is best worked straight up and down, literally straight under your boat, which means I generally like a little bit more water depth. The biggest key to that is that the spoon, when it's falling on slack line straight down, is extremely erratic, and so dropping the bait straight down can be a good call. The blade has a tendency to swim a little bit more because it's bottom weighted, so I like to lift it hard off the bottom and then let it kind of pendulum to me, and it just kind of swims back to the bottom at an angle. So it's a slightly different presentation. It really, on any given day, either one could be good, but they're fished essentially the same way. And all the Fishful Thinker guys, myself, Dano here in the back of the boat, and of course Ronnie as well, all fish them on braided line. Braided line gives you the instant hook set you need with a piece of steel on the end of your line. You don't have anything they're going to hold for any length of time. If a fish gets a hold of this blade, he's going to spit it out in a hurry. Same with the spoon. The braid gives you instant hook sets. It gives you a real crisp action as well with your blade or with your spoon. And I use short, stiff rods for this technique. Give you a good look at what the blade looks like as opposed to a spoon. You notice all the weight is on the bottom right here. So this bait will swim in a straight line to you if you keep the line tight. Otherwise, unlike a spoon, which will just go real erratic and real fluttery. So the blades are a little bit different in that regard. And the funny thing about white bass is they do populate so much that more people should eat them, or the good thing about them, I should say. So, you know, it's one of the first fish that I'll catch and eat. A lot of guys tell you you got to cut the red meat that's along the lateral line of the fish out. To some degree, I think that's true. I tend to soak all my fillets in salted ice water right when I fillet them, and I think that takes a lot of that fishy taste out of them. But the thing about white bass is they are so prolific, and generally they're helped by having some harvest. So let's eat some of them. You know, I'm all for it. I love eating some fresh fish, and these are a good call. Probably, what do you think, Dan? Probably midsummer to fall is the time that white bass are the easiest to catch, don't you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. You know, it's when they're really going. Although, you know, in the springtime when you get that run going and
they go to Maine,
and they're going, they can be pretty fun to catch then. But they're certainly a lot harder to find until later in the summer when, you know, as they start feeding heavy on the shad, and you look for the shad and fish around those. And then the fall is always a great time to fish anyway.
Yeah, and you know, part of our deal today was not, there we go, right there, was not just looking for the shad, but looking for the birds that were working the shad, and that kind of panned out and kind of did. We caught our first couple that way, and then we kind of lost them, so we trolled, and then we found them, and then we got another one right here with the blade. Here he's coming up right there. That thin fisher's getting them done now, Dano.
Look at the nice blue color on his back too.
Yeah.
He's real pretty.
That's a cool fish, big dorsal rays right here. So, you know, we're here, it's October, it's cold out, big cold front came through. It's all about bait. I mean, to some degree it's about structure, because the structure is what can maybe attract and hold the bait. But if there's not shad in the area, you're not gonna catch basically walleyes or bass or whatever. In this particular lake, it's shad. It could be smelt, it could be alewives, it could be shiners of any sort, or minnows, whatever the case might be. If you start talking about September, October, you better be fishing around your bait fish. If you're not really in the hunt. And that's one of the keys. Birds are the obvious answer for locating bait. We talk about that all the time. Diving seagulls, diving pelicans, cormorants, grebes like we have here. We've got a bunch of grebes that have been working the area all morning.
There we go.
We got Dano working the area right now.
It's a good fish.
Let me get the spoon up and I'll net him for you here and get this blade up. I'm coming. Don't ever leave a line out.
Yeah, that's a nice one. That's a nice one.
Yeah, all right. There you go. That's a pretty one there. Nicely done, Dano. Nicely done.
Yeah, that's a nice fish.
That's a real nice white bass.
Oh yeah, you can be that way.
Yeah, it's a real nice white bass, Dano. Here you go, your pliers.
I got him.
Nicely done, Dan Swanson. Now that, guys, that is a good eating size white bass. Look at the big dorsal rays right here on these things. Got another spine right here that people aren't aware of, but you got to be careful of, and there's one on the leading edge of these fins as well. So those are all sharp. That's a beautiful fish. Seems like whenever you're fishing in fall, graphs are probably more important from midsummer to fall than any other time when it comes to marking fish. The rest of the time, I use them more for matching structure, marking structure, than I do fish. This time of year, I'm looking for fish. I'm looking for bait fish. I'm looking for the actual fish I want to catch. I'm looking for their relation to the structures that I normally mark. It's a whole different ballgame in the fall. Don't you think, Dan?
I do, and I think the biggest reason for that is that in the spring you're fishing more horizontal.
Right.
So you're casting more, you're working towards
And
the bank
shallower.
and shallower, so the electronics are not as important.
For catching fish.
For catching fish.
That doesn't mean they're
Right.
not great for detecting, you know, bottom transitions, structural changes, you know, water temperatures, things like that. Those are all really important in the spring. In the fall, flat out, you better be around bait fish. And anytime you glance down at that graph, you're going to notice that there's going to be either bait or sport fish or both on the graph at any given time, or we're just not going to be fishing there.
Let's get this fish first.
Yeah, we just marked those on the graph.
job.
That's a good size one, I have a feeling. He, either, I don't know, he was down deep. We marked him on the graph. Oh, stuck him.
Where are you going?
Yep, stuck him right here. Here he comes. There we go. Nice, Dano, nice. We just marked those on the graph as well, and turned around and got him. So we were talking about, this fish is definitely foul hooked, so we're gonna let this one go because I hooked him goofy.
Yeah.
But it made him feel like he was bigger than he was, but it's a nice sized white
Nice
bass.
fish.
Perfect eating fish right there. But I did foul hook that one, so we'll let him go here pretty quick.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Well, what we're gonna do, guys, is always our goal is to get you guys to take some fish and enjoy the overall experience of eating them. So what we're gonna do here is show you how we go about preparing some of these white bass. So when we get back here to the ramp, we'll fillet them out, and then I'll take them home and cook them, and we'll show you guys what we do with them in case you happen to come catch them yourself. Did you get him, Dano?
Yeah, I got him.
There you go. There you go. I'm coming with the net.
Probably a good plan. Oh, that's a nice one.
I'm trying. I'll get this thing in there. My line was out there 100 yards.
I'll just hold here and wait
You
for
just
you.
wait. Yeah, you just wait right there. Ay, ay, ay. Nicely done, Dan.
Right.
Nicely done. There you go. And let you get a hold of him. So guys, hopefully today, you got him?
I got him.
We might as well eat that one too, and that'll fill out. That'll give us 5 of them total, and that'll be plenty for us to eat compared to all the ones we let go. So Dan did a great job today. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed the cooking segment as well. Get out and try some of them. You know, a simple fish stew like that's delicious, or fry them, or however you like them. The beauty of these guys is they're delicious and nutritious.
And there's lots of them.
Dan, thanks for coming out with us.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you getting us out in the Big Ranger boat here. Dan was nice enough to get us out. If you want to book a guide trip with either one of us or also Ronnie Castiglione, check us out at fishfulthinker.com. Of course, join the conversation on Facebook. And in the meantime, we got some fish to clean I think we should get. All right, guys, here we go. This is one of the best recipes to clear out any fish you may have in your freezer, or to use any, white flaky fish, white bass, striped bass, walleyes, anything like that. It's called zuppa di pesce, but I'm not Italian, so we'll call it fish stew, plain old redneck fish stew. So we've got a screaming hot cast iron dish. We're gonna put a pretty healthy dose of olive oil in there. And then here we go in with some onions, and we'll do a bunch of onions here. Always a little bit of salt in there as well. That little bit of salt will help pull the moisture out of the onions. Let's go in with our garlic now. And now I think is a good time to add a little bit of the parsley in here, and I'm gonna reserve a little bit of this to put on top of the dish. And I'm also gonna put the tomatoes in. We'll add a pinch more salt for those tomatoes. And I'm also gonna give it a splash of white wine. Just a splash. We got about 10 minutes to rest. So I'll put the lid back on it. All the Camp Chef Dutch ovens come with a little lid holder like that because those lids get extremely hot. So we'll put the lid on there now and let that cook for just a couple of minutes. We'll give it about, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, something like that, and let the flavors kind of melt down, let all that kind of cook together, and then we'll come back and add some more stuff. And now I'm gonna add a bunch of vegetable stock right here, guys. That's about how much liquid I want in the pan, something like that. So it's not a tremendous amount of liquid, but it is definitely enough liquid to let the fish bathe in and cook in. We'll put the lid back on and give it some more time. Anytime I'm gonna add black pepper to a dish, which I do on almost everything, I like to put it in 2 waves. I like to cook some of it into the dish so it's had an opportunity to really cook in, and then I always like to come back and touch it up at the end with however much pepper it might need to finalize the dish. But black pepper takes on a distinctly different flavor if it's had a lot of heat put to it. And then you come in and put some fresh on the end, very similar to the fresh herbs. I'm gonna take some of the reserved flat leaf parsley and throw it in right at the end as well for the same reason. Ice water with salt in it is the best way to hold the fish. It firms the meat up, it makes it really nice and dense, it gives it a good texture, keeps that mushy feeling away. So when this is ready for the fish to be added, I'll drain off the ice water, I'll throw the fish in, we'll put the lid on, let it finish. Okay, so we believe we've given it enough time now for all of our flavors to come together. We're about the 10 or 12 minute mark that it's been simmering like this. And we're gonna go ahead and put all that fish in there. And that's about, I would say it's probably 1.5 pounds, maybe a little more than that of the fillets of all the white bass. So we'll stir these in. Since I put the fish in, again, I'll come in with another little pinch of salt, and I'm doing little small pinches, a little bit at a time. And each time I add a layer of flavor to it. So put the lid back on it and let it go. About probably 10 minutes or so. When you can stick a fork in one of those pieces of fish and it just breaks in half, no problem, you'll know it's done. Now I need to go make some crusty bread to go with it. And I've got right here a mix of melted butter and olive oil. A little bit of garlic salt with a little bit of basil in it. But we'll take these pieces of bread that we've brushed, and we'll set those right down on there and let them toast real quick. Put a tiny little bit of on this side, just keeps them from being too crunchy and adds a certain richness to the bread so that when you dip it, it's just absolutely delicious. And one thing about bread, don't burn it. It only take a minute. Just like that. That's all we want out of it. We'll pull the lid off it. And I'm gonna go out on a limb right now and say that that's gonna taste pretty good. So we'll give it a stir. The fish is definitely coming apart. That's a good sign. We'll grab a bowl and a ladle. I'm gonna dish me up some here. Then we're gonna come back and we're gonna hit it with a little bit of this fresh parsley that I reserved and a big old pinch of this cheese right here, right on top of that. And I think we'll grab this piece of crunchy bread, and that right there is the best reason to get your crankbaits and your jerkbaits and your jigging spoons out and catch a bunch of white bass. No.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo! A walleye! It's a whopper, though.
That's one of the most,
Yeah,
this
you got
one's a little
one?
bigger right here, though.
All right.
No. Okay, time out. No, wait a minute, maybe not. No, maybe not. Okay. We're not doing too good.
Try again.
Dano's working on a giant, I'm working on blades
nice
of
one.
grass, and